Maverick News, the antivirus program for your mind. And now, the Freedom Reporters.
Whoa, okay, that's off my face, that big Maverick Frisbee that sometimes pops up in front of my ugly mug. Welcome. I'm sure by now most of you have heard that Donald Trump has been found guilty on all 34 counts associated with that hush money trial in New York City. What a day it has been. What a sad day for America. I'm just going to show you right off the top how mainstream media has been reporting on this. We have a lot of other news to dig into today, but let me just give you this immediately.
Former President Donald Trump has been found guilty on all 34 counts. You can see them on the screen ahead of you. All 34 counts of falsifying business records. It is, of course, in connection to paying hush money to adult film star Stormy Daniels and then falsifying those business records in order to cover up the payment of that hush money in order to essentially cover up things for the presidential campaign that at the time the former president was a part of.
Okay, so that is the way it went down today on all the mainstream media channels as they were providing live coverage. Now, we're going to come back to all that. We may even be able to go to the phones to give you guys a voice. But we have a lot of other stories to talk about tonight as well. Kevin is going to join us, Kevin Michalizzi, from Crimea, where there has been another attack on the Crimean bridge. He'll bring us up to date. And Dragon is live right now out at McGill University, where the pro-Palestinian encampment continues. In fact, I think what we have on our hands here tonight, Dragon, is an anniversary. What's happening over there in Montreal?
Well, today, or actually yesterday, was the first month of the encampment in McGill. So I'm here today joining the event, if you will, and showing you a beautiful site of the McBain building right here. So this is what it's look like, and as you can see, there's a lot of not much actually. We got some people around here, so yeah, we're it's a beautiful day to protest, isn't it?
It's a beautiful day for a protest. Every day is a protest day, it seems, these days, and especially over the past month. So I do know there was chanting there as part of a demonstration just a short time ago, but we'll come back to you shortly, Dragon, to get more details on what is happening at McGill University, where the pro-Palestinian encampment continues. So don't go away, sir. We're going to come back to you for that. Plus, we're going to get some comments from Dragon as well about, to get his thoughts on this Trump verdict, because there's a lot of opinions to go around tonight. So we'll come back to Dragon shortly. Let me take a quick break, and then on the other side of this, Kevin Michalizzi will join us from Crimea.
the sharing of biased and
False news has become all too common on social media.
More alarmingly, some media outlets simply aren't true without checking facts first. Unfortunately, some members of media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
In an ocean of lies a century deep, the truth awaits. Choose not the red pill. Choose not the blue pill. For both are an illusion. Discover the power of M. The power of individuality. We are Mavericks, we are the way to the light. Fear not the storm. Join our quest for truth. Truth will set you free. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals. Defenders of individual rights and freedoms. Credible. Trusted. Grounded in reality. Maverick News. Maverick News. Defending free speech. Free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Also tonight, we're going to talk about a $12 million plan by the Trudeau government to kill a bunch of deer. We're going to talk about Trudeau being in trouble. This according to GROK, the artificial intelligence engine on X, formerly known as Twitter. So this is a little bit of a strange story. AI telling Trudeau that he really needs to consider resigning. Yeah, and we'll get back into this Trump stuff as well. Oh, also, Pierre Poilievre making mincemeat out of Trudeau in the House of Commons today. He's a brilliant parliamentarian, a great orator. Man, he's just mastered that Mr. Speaker stuff like no one I've seen. He's awesome. But let's get to Kevin Michelizzi. It's early in the morning. He's got sleep in his eyes, and he's giving up his bedtime for us tonight. Thank you for doing that, and welcome back.
I don't know what bedtime is anymore, Rick.
So, well, how do you sleep with all the fireworks over there? I mean, it's unnerving.
Yeah, well, it is. Fortunately, I'm far enough away from most of it, but, it was kind of an interesting day today. So yeah. It all started about 6:30, 7 o'clock this morning. It appears that after spending a week trying to, shoot missiles at Sevastopol, they decided to try for the bridge yesterday.
So Ukraine launched some...
You're today.
Yeah, so Ukraine launched some missiles at the Crimean Bridge again. Yeah. Took another shot at it. And how did that work out?
Well, there's mixed reports on it. Officially from the Russian government at 7 a.m. they actually had 5 drones over Krasnodar, which is on the mainland. So that was not actually towards the bridge, but we had 8 ATACMS missiles destroyed at night over the Sea of Azov heading towards the bridge, and 10 drones in the Black Sea heading towards the bridge.
Is that what we're looking at here? I found this footage online. Is this real, fake? Is this what is this? Do you know?
I have no idea what that is.
Typical. That's about par for the course these days when it comes to footage online. I mean, I'm told that that's from this attack, but
it could be.
I don't know.
I've got a friend who lives about 2 kilometers from where they had restationed the air defenses yesterday or the day before, and he said it shook their house and knocked them out of bed at 7 o'clock this morning. But like I say, the Ministry of Defense says that the 8 missiles were destroyed and the drones were destroyed, and that 2 ferries were damaged by debris from the downed missiles. However, other media sources are saying that a pilot boat or a tugboat, Dream, was supposedly sank. The 2 ferries were damaged, and one of them ran aground due to the damage, and 4 transport and landing boats of the KS-701 type, relatively small ones, were damaged. But the media says they're waiting for confirmation of the information, and of course the Ministry of Defense probably will never release that information. Usually their response will be, there were no civilian casualties and everything was shot down. So
any idea what this is? Can you make any sense of that? What are we looking at there?
Fake picture or an old picture. The bridge was not hit, so that's...
Okay, so that's not authentic.
Yeah. We did have debris from a drone hit a transformer substation outside of Kerch, and that was official. Well, actually outside Krasnodar, so other side of the bridge. And there was minor damage. And then another UAV which was taken down by electronic means outside of another village. So that's pretty much what went on.
I see. Yeah, like technically with that post that I'm looking at there, they're not actually claiming that that's from today. They're just posting it and making a general claim about attacks in the area. So I guess it must be from another day.
Yeah, that's what that looks like.
Yeah, and this footage I'm looking at here definitely is old footage from a previous attack. Yeah, this has got to be old stuff too. Well, that's one of the tricks these days, right, online, is to recycle old footage.
Yeah, and let people assume what they're seeing.
Yes, that's right.
Vague headline and old footage equals this happened today.
Exactly. But I guess the takeaway from this is that Ukraine is focused on doing something to this bridge. They're going to keep on taking pot shots at it.
Yeah, and those drones that were shot down over the mainland, that was even before Biden gave them permission to use weapons on limited areas of Russia that are threatening the Kharkov area. So
yeah,
and of course Kharkov is 2-3 hour flight north of there, but
yeah, so that's a significant development in itself. Give me your analysis of that. That's been something we've been talking about for at least the past week.
My analysis of that is, they're being pressured by European allies who pretty much have all said that, yes, Kiev can use weapons against targets in Russia. And the United States, up until, yesterday, was saying, nah, we'll consider that getting us involved. But, this was the wimpy way of saying, well, okay, we'll let them strike at territories like Belgorod, which is just on the other side of the border from Kharkiv, which they've been doing anyway. So they've been doing that for a year now. So it's just putting some spin on what's already occurring.
Now, is this when they were doing it before, we're told that they were using mainly drones, I guess not supplied by the U.S. That's what we're told. Would this open the door to them using more effective weapons?
Actually, they were not only using drones, they were using missiles. They were using Storm Shadows. They were using ATACMS recently as well. So it's same thing that's been going on. They've been using ATACMS missiles since last year. Before the United States said, yeah, we're going to send them some.
So should we be worried about what Vladimir Putin said just a number of days ago about if, attacking UK targets, if UK weapons are used, and I guess that extends to attacking potentially US targets if US weapons are used to strike inside Russia?
Well, he's been saying throughout this entire military operation that if Kiev attacked Russian territory, there would be severe consequences. But, again, they've been striking Russian assets for, longer than that, going back the whole couple of years. So I think anything you're hearing from Russia is probably rhetoric as well. Lavrov today said that Russia believes the United States has become an accomplice to Kiev's crimes. And, that was a comment on the missile strikes on Russian cities. So Belgorod, and of course, Russia considers Crimea Russian territory, even though the United States, Britain, and, Ukraine don't. And they also made a statement that Russia will view the delivery of F-16s to Kiev as deliberate signaling of action by NATO in the nuclear field. So, we have to turn up that nuclear attack field, deal a little bit as well. So, and he's saying that these aircraft have long been the main delivery vehicle for NATO's joint nuclear missions. Are F-16s really nuclear delivery devices? And maybe, limited non-tactical versions. But,
you mean non-strategic, but they could, they can be equipped to carry tactical nukes, small nuclear weapons. But here's the thing with that. It's my understanding that Ukraine already has, some MiGs or some former Russian produced jets that are already capable of carrying nukes. They can be modified if they want to carry at least one or two different kinds of nuclear weapons. So this seems like a lot of rhetoric. Yeah.
Yeah. Reality is, they've got larger planes that can carry larger nuclear missiles, much like, other countries have as well. Truth be told, it was probably 2007, 2008 that Ukraine got something like 13 or 14 old F-16s from the United States. So they've actually had aircraft around for a while. Now, are they operational? They weren't real operational at the time. All the electronics had been stripped out. So, I don't recall which European country in the last several days have said they're going to send, 20 or 30 F-16s. Is it going to make a big difference? Probably not. But that's my opinion.
Yeah.
They have no
Well,
air defense left. So, in response to the missile strikes this morning on Belgrade, Krasnodar, and the bridge area, Russia already launched, massive missile strikes back on Ukraine. So it comes back to that same thing, 7, 8, 9 coming towards Russia equals 30 or 40 going towards Kiev.
You sent me some other information, and I've had so much going on, I can't even remember all the points of the things that you were throwing at me earlier today, but you have some other stuff to take note of over there, too. What else was on your radar?
Well, so we also had in Crimea, the FSB thwarted a series of terrorist attacks that were planned on the railway infrastructure in Crimea. So, they were supposed to be carried out on the instructions of Ukrainian military intelligence. And there were 5 guys from Crimea that were recruited. So they were, what they would call werewolves here. They were Russian citizens, former Ukrainian citizens, and their task was to paralyze the movement of military and civilian trains on the peninsula. And the reason they got caught is one of the guys who was in charge of the 5 blew himself up, removing the explosives from a cache that they had. So because of the explosion and the guy being killed, the other guys were arrested and confessed to what they were going to do.
Well, there was some other stuff too, wasn't there? I can't remember what you sent me all on the email.
Yeah, I don't know. I send you so much stuff. Let me gander here. The United States is boycotting the UN General Assembly on, the ceremony on the former Iranian president.
Raisi, yes.
Yeah. And, generally they get together and pay tribute to any world leader who was a current head of state at the time of their death. So today for you guys, they were supposed to have speeches and remembrance of Raisi. So, but the United States would not be attending the event in any capacity.
Yeah, that's interesting, but not surprising.
Not surprising. Kind of crappy attitude. I have to believe they probably wouldn't show up if they were honoring Putin either, if he came to some demise.
Now that's interesting because today in Canada, Trudeau was asked this. Let me just run this short clip. I'll get you to comment on this. Here we are. And let's get the question and the answer.
During the pandemic, we promised.
Oh, hang on. Wrong thing. He was asked about, I have the wrong one up. He's asked here about a D-Day celebration coming up and France inviting Vladimir Putin. And this is Trudeau's response.
Good morning, Sammy Hudis with the Canadian Press. Prime Minister, are you uncomfortable that France has invited Russian officials to the D-Day commemoration next week? And what message will you bring to any of these representatives?
Well, I think our message for Russia has been consistent and clear. They must retreat from Ukraine, respect internationally established borders. The violation of the UN Charter, the international rules-based order by Russia in invading a neighboring sovereign country has impacts, not just devastating impacts on Ukraine and Ukrainians, but devastating impacts on the rules-based order that protects us all around the world. If lines on a map can be redrawn by a neighbor with a larger army, then the period of stability that we have known since the end of World War II would come to an end, and the prosperity and opportunity available not just to people in Western democracies, but all around the world would be at risk. That is why we are in such deep, deep disagreement with the Putin regime and the actions of the government of Russia. As we commemorate the victory over fascism and Nazism in World War II, it's important to recognize all the countries that were involved, but that does not preclude our extreme disagreement with the endangering of people around the world and indeed of the rules-based order that the current Russian regime is involved in.
Thought?
Did you hear his slip of the tongue that he caught real quick? World War IV.
No, actually, I didn't catch that. I didn't hear it.
Yeah, he's World War II. You know, of course, you know, rhetoric again. You know, the rules-based order. You know, shame on Russia for not following, you know, the rules that the United States draws up and ignores. You know, you can't redraw borders. It hasn't been done since, you know, the end of World War II, except for things like 1990 Kosovo, where NATO went in and redrew Serbia's borders. You know, it's more of the same do as I say, not as I do stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I understand the logic. I you know, after the fall of the Berlin Wall, you had these the Soviet Union broke up. You have the formation of all these sort of new countries. I get it. You've got an agreement where Russia and the United States both agreed to not invade Ukraine if they gave up their nuclear weapons. And now we have all this going on because NATO kept pushing across. So, I mean, it's a bit of a mess. Not a bit, it's a huge mess. And you've got, you know, international rules-based order, and you have to do this and you have to do that. And I understand the Russian perspective too. They see the expansion of NATO as an existential threat to the country. So,
which was also a verbal promise that was made to them. So, you know, who's right, who's wrong? It's the same guys doing what the other side is doing. Doesn't matter which perspective you're taking. Russia to the U.S., the U.S. to Russia, you know, any Western country versus Russia. You know, they're all doing the same thing. You know, like I said, Kosovo really had nothing to do with the breakup of the Soviet Union. You know, Serbia was carved out of the, what was it, the Yugoslavia
Civil War. Yeah.
And, you know, NATO had, you know, no permission for that, but they went in and redrew borders. And, you know, then again, under the same pretext that Russia has used for the going into Ukraine was the Kosovo thing. You know, the people are being, you know, oppressed, and we have to help them and give them some freedom. Same thing that went on in Crimea, you know. So same story, different day, different side.
Yeah, I mean,
but let's remember what Trudeau was supposed to be talking about. D-Day. That really has nothing to do with anything that happened after, you know. Russia and Western allies, well, I shouldn't say Russia, Soviet Union and Western allies defeated Germany.
Yeah, we used to fight on the same side at one time.
Yeah.
And too bad we can't get along now. With all this stuff going on with Trump.
Democracy is dead. Hey.
What? You know what? Let's bring Dragon back in and just see, because he's standing by in the back room here. Just let's bring him in here for a minute and add him to the conversation. Holy smokes! What's going on there, Dragon? I can't hear you. Your mic is muted. Your mic. There you go.
I found a little something interesting for you guys, probably also a little banner right behind me at the World War II commemoration of McGill that was actually part of it, and you can see the that banner says Gazan student don't get to be diplomat or graduated. So
Can you just walk forward a little bit so we can see the whole sign? I can't. I can only see part of it.
I'll
So
try
it says,
to.
yeah, just walk forward and we'll get a wider shot. You're okay. Yeah. It says Gazan students don't get to graduate.
Yep.
That's what it says. Okay.
So, and it's right in front of a World War II commemoration of McGill McGill people who were actually involved in World War II. So it's kind of a good segue, eh?
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah. Let's come back to you, Kevin. What do you think about? I want to talk about Trump and what they're doing with Trump. Do you think this ties in with? I mean, international politics, foreign policy. They just don't want the guy to be able to run, or they want to cut him off at the knees.
They don't want him to run, and they've already been told by states in the United States that they can't take him off the ballot. So, let's make a criminal out of him. He can still be president, though, and he can still run, his office from prison if they send him away. The punishment that he can get is from probation to 4 years in prison. They've simply now labeled him as a criminal no matter what happens to him. Right. And, typically through this whole thing of going after him, his poll numbers go up after this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But, it seems like the only way they can get Biden reelected, too, because they're really coming down on him about his age. He's, 81 right now?
Yeah.
So, and definitely not all there.
And failing, yeah. So I mean, and so maybe I didn't refine my question enough. Trump didn't get us into any new wars. He did give Javelin missiles to Ukraine, but there was no war. There was no escalation of war in Syria while he was president. He says that he will end the war in Ukraine quickly if he's re-elected. It seems like he wants to bring peace. Biden, all the way along, the Democrats in general, I've always said, are sort of the warmongers. It seems to me that that's one of the main motivations behind the Democrats to take him out. They don't like his foreign policies and how this would undermine what they're doing overseas.
Yeah, and on the other hand, he wants them to supply more arms to Israel, and he wants Israel to wipe, Hamas off the face of the earth by destroying Gaza. So, is he for war? Is he against it? He's going to solve the Ukraine thing in 24 hours, and Vladimir Putin's coming to my house for dinner tonight.
What do you think, Dragon? What do you make of this Trump verdict?
Well, what I make of it is, we know Trump as a controversy master, right? And this is basically controversy in U.S. So you got it, right? I mean, that guy is. I think this is the way he's gonna just win some base, because people like him. A lot of stuff going on, and I mean, he's in trouble, and people just will support the guy and try to, do something about it, by probably expressing their freedom of speech.
Well, it certainly seemed like the mainstream media and the establishment, if you will, was ready for this. Within almost immediately after the verdict, the New Yorker put this up online. This is going to be their cover for their June edition. And as you can see, actually, here we go, giving you next week's news today. It's dated June 10th. So that's my one-upmanship on Alex Jones, because it isn't just tomorrow's news today, it's next week's news. So we went into the future again and delivered what the other guys are going to report a week from now. But there he is. They're slapping the cuffs on in that editorial cartoon on the front cover of the New Yorker.
Yeah, they're going to have to get smaller cuffs for those wrists.
Yeah, well, they gave him really small hands. A little message there, right?
Yeah.
The message I see is that he's gonna get through. There's
another message there from the past where there was a joke made about the size of his hands relating to a certain size of his male anatomy. Yeah, you're maybe not aware of that from a few years ago. That's why the hands are so small.
And
although you may be right, Dragon, that might be part of the message. It's like they're putting the cuffs on, but they don't really fit, and he'll get away with whatever he's, allegedly has done. Found guilty today.
Well, we know that, famous people sometimes just pass through the nails, and they don't get cuffed or they get cuffed, but, they just get a slap on the wrist and get along. So,
yeah.
Well,
let's say about it.
They're going to appeal this conviction as well. They still claim that, what his bookkeeper did and what his lawyer did has no bearing on him personally, and that'll be in courts till probably 2 or 3 elections from now.
Right. Yeah. This is not over. This is going to take months. He's back in court July 11th for sentencing. It looks like they've expedited that process because this may be the only case. He has, several cases still ongoing, but this will be the only one, I think, that reaches this level where a verdict and possible sentencing is laid out before the election. So
a short 4 months before the election. Woo. Tell me there's not a message in that.
Yeah, do you think that this will help him or hurt him overall in the election?
I have no opinion on that. RFK Jr., is he going to help Trump? Is he going to hurt Trump? Is he going to help Biden? Is he going to hurt Biden? I don't know. I think they've given the United States, bad, worse, and the absolute dreadful to pick from.
It's not a good election season. I have to say, yeah, I think you're quite right about that. There doesn't seem to be a real clear-cut, good, all-American apple pie kind of choice in front of us.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Dragon? Do you think it's going to help him or hurt him?
Trump probably helped Trump in a way. Like I said, he's a controversy master, and he always has put his money where his mouth is when it comes to controversy, And if you remember well, back in the days, he were, getting into a fight, if you will, with Vince McMahon, which is another controversy master in WWE, and had to cut his hair off for after the show. So that was part of a thing, and I think that Trump always had that image, if you will, of a controversy type of guy. So
yeah.
Well, here's reaction from Jack Posobiec, conservative commentator. The only reason he says the jury didn't deliver this verdict on day one was to try to make it seem like they had a little bit of credibility. Show trial, show verdict. Leftist regimes have been using this tactic since the French guillotine.
Wow, that's telling.
Everybody's got an opinion on this tonight.
Yeah, and it's all opinion. We could all be wrong.
Yeah. Now I've got also, and here's Trump's opinion on it. Let me get you his reaction. This is what he was saying when he left the courthouse today.
This one.
We do. We have video. We've got video. Oh, do we have video? This I posted on our X account, formerly known as Twitter, immediately after the verdict came down, and as soon as he came out, I got this up on our Twitter feed for people who wanted the most up-to-date information.
This was a disgrace. This was a rigged trial by a conflicted judge who was corrupt. It's a rigged trial, a disgrace. They wouldn't give us a venue change. We were at 5% or 6% in this district, in this area. This was a rigged, disgraceful trial. But the real verdict is going to be November 5th by the people. And they know what happened here, and everybody knows what happened here. You have a Soros-backed DA, and the whole thing, we didn't do a thing wrong. I'm a very innocent man, and it's okay. I'm fighting for our country. I'm fighting for our Constitution. Our whole country is being rigged right now. This was done by the Biden administration in order to wound or hurt an opponent, a political opponent. And I think it's just a disgrace. And we'll keep fighting. We'll fight till the end, and we'll win, because our country's gone to hell. We don't have the same country anymore. We have a divided mess. We're a nation in decline, serious decline. Millions and millions of people pouring into our country right now, from prisons and from mental institutions, terrorists, and they're taking over our country. We have a country that's in big trouble, but this was a rigged decision right from day one, with a conflicted judge who should have never been allowed to try this case, never. And we will fight for our Constitution. This is long from over. Thank you very much.
Sounds like the United States has turned into hell on earth.
Yeah, and from what I saw out there, the reaction, kind of like Dragon was talking about, the supporters of Trump were all talking about it bringing more Republicans out to vote for him, and it'll be overturned on appeal, and just, variety of types of reactions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think it's going to be a very rocky, maybe even violent summer in the streets. That's what I think. How about you, Dragon?
Yeah, well, it is a flammable kind of situation, I think, too, and we need to be careful. I hope the guys in the U.S. will not do anything bad, or you know what it is, right? I don't want them to do anything, but if this is what they want to do, well, this is what is going to happen.
So today, the first person to call me about this was this guy here. John!
Rimby John Scotty, how are you doing, Mr. Rick, sir? How are you?
Well, I'm fine. And because you were the first person to call me and say, they have a verdict. They have a verdict. You have to go look. They have a verdict. I thought we have to get you on the program tonight to get your reaction, because you've been following this with every detail of it from the beginning all day. So give us your assessment, sir.
Well, greetings to our worldwide Maverick News family around the world. I would like to give my extensions. I am part American. My family came from Minnesota. I do have to say, Rick, I really personally feel this is a very, very sad day for the United States of America. It's a very, very sad day for the United States, whether you're a Trump fan or not. I think it's a sad day for the White House and the Oval Office. I just think it's a terribly sad day, whether you're pro-Trump or negative Trump. I really feel that, this was definitely a politically driven case. Most New Yorkers, most of New York State voted Democrat for Biden. And, I think it's pretty well. I mean, I don't like to always agree with Mr. Trump, but I really feel from a layman's point of view, and I think a lot of Americans feel, this really was a rigged trial, rigged process from day one. This sitting judge in New York, he wasn't just sitting on this case, he also was sitting on two other cases. I think maybe not Mar-a-Lago, but Trump's sidekick there. He was sitting on. This judge has been sitting on two other very controversial Trump cases. And we all know now, Trump has been found guilty on all 34 criminal counts, possibly carrying up to 4 years in prison. I guess the sentencing date is July the 11th, 2024, and in New York City courthouse. And I would imagine Trump would probably launch his appeal that same day. And then 4 days after that, the Republican Party convention starts on July the 15th, 2024. So as far as I know, Trump can still run in the 2024 presidential election. And because he resides in Florida, I believe my information is he'll still be able to vote.
Even if you're a felon, you get to vote in the USA.
Not in New York State, but because he resides, his main residence, I believe, is Florida. And this is all over. I mean, boys and girls, what a clown show. I mean, we're talking about $130,000 to Stormy Daniels, a professional stripper, professional porn actress, something that happened a long time ago. And as far as I'm concerned, I take the position of our old Pierre Elliott Trudeau. What goes on in the bedroom is not the state's business. It's nobody's business. Maybe Stormy should have followed Howard Hunt from the 1970s with Mr. Nixon. At least Mr. Hunt got $1 million in hush money from Richard Nixon, which is a little more than Stormy got. But, don't forget she got in 2018, Stormy Daniels got an advance of $800,000 on her book deal. So, needless to say, I don't think Rick and our Maverick News family around the world, I don't think Stormy Daniels is on the Christmas card list or Michael Cohen for Mar-a-Lago this year.
I don't think so either. That was a pretty expensive little adventure that he had there.
Let's call it what it is, Rick. A fling.
Yeah. Very expensive.
I will agree.
Fling.
And Rick, my other esteemed friend Brian Held said, geez, Rimby John, maybe we should get a hold of Daniel Smitty. We can hold a campaign rally in Alberta. Maybe for Mr. Trump, we can hold church bake sales here, and we can put the Trump rally campaign right beside one of our universities here with the Palestinian protest.
Well, maybe we could arrange asylum for him up here in the Great White North.
Well, Rick, we can throw bake sales at our churches and raise them a little money, And I mean, old Stormy, well, maybe we'll invite her too. She likes the beef. Well, hey, Stormy, we got the best Alberta beef in the world for you, Stormy.
Oh my goodness. Kevin, is Trump going to jail, Kevin?
I seriously doubt it. Like I say, they're already talking about appeals, and I'll say this. I'm an almost American too. I come from Minnesota, and of course, unless you come from Rochester on down in Minnesota, technically you're Canadian anyway. But I would like to see him go to jail, be elected president, and then them try to fit that Oval Office desk in the prison cell.
Well, if he's elected president, couldn't he just pardon himself?
Yeah, exactly my thought.
Yeah.
This is so stupid. This whole thing is so dumb. Plus, it happened before he was elected president the first time. He should have just pardoned himself in advance of the conviction. This is so ridiculous. When it comes down to it, and these charges, the guilty verdict on all these charges, these are like accounting issues, potentially fraud issues, but really what the underlying crime here is he had a fling, and he tried to hide it. so that people wouldn't judge him.
Allegedly.
Allegedly, yeah. But he's not even convicted. He's not convicted for the fling. He's convicted for moving money around and paying her off, basically.
You know what? I'm gonna invite Trump to come to Montreal and stay around. You know what? I got a place for him if he wants to.
Oh man, like John, help
Yes,
us out
sir.
here. Is there anything moral or ethical about this verdict today of guilty?
Well, first off, I think our other friend there, Trump cannot pardon himself if he becomes president because these are not federal charges; they're local New York State charges. So the governor of New York State would have to pardon him. But I love the new term, GOLAT, gloat. Michael Cohen, the greatest liar of all time. I mean. Talk about a clown show, eh? Let's tune into the as the stomach turns with the young and the restless.
This is just it's a stain on the United States. Kevin, how do you think people in Russia are viewing this? Are they paying attention? And if so, what do you think? And what do you think Vladimir Putin might be thinking tonight?
Yeah. Who knows? Part of the problem is this stuff comes out during the day over there, and by then Russians aren't paying any attention to anything. So we'll see if there's any reaction tomorrow. It's my guess the reaction will be little or none, and that.
I have to tell you, my jaw hit the floor when they were reading off guilty, guilty, guilty 34 times. When all the reporters are out there doing their live hits, and they're all we're listing off the counts and guilty, guilty, guilty on all 34. My jaw hit the ground. I thought, what has the country come to? I thought when they first started saying guilty, I thought, well, they're not going to find him guilty. They'll find him innocent on something. No, all 34. I don't. From when I heard the instructions to the jury and so on, didn't make sense to me. How you get a conviction on all 34 of those, but here we are. That's not a question. That's just me blabbering. Anybody else have a reaction? Was this expected for you guys, or what were you thinking?
Personally, I wasn't expecting this. I was sure that something kind of controversial would happen, like basically be acquitted of all account. But this is another story of controversy for me.
And Kevin, do you think we're going to see? What do you think we're going to see on the streets? Is this going to result in more protests? I don't know.
I think there's going to be protests all over in the United States. And it'll be the same, pro-Trump versus pro-Biden protesters screaming at each other, and I don't think it'll go much further than that, or at least I hope it won't. Things have gotten a little rough in the past, but maybe we'll have another takeover of Congress.
Who knows?
Another
John?
January 6th?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
What just give us some final thoughts here, John, all the way out there from Alberta, my half almost American Canadian Maple MAGA friend.
Well, I think maybe we should invite Donald Trump up to the 2024 Calgary International Stampede and Rodeo as the parade marshal. I think, if they throw him in jail, I think you're going to see all-out civil war on the streets in the United States, and this hatred there, I think, well, it's already started. There's going to be a deeper divide between the Republicans and Democrats. The country's going to be more divided than ever. And let's not forget, they had it out for Donald J. Trump when he came down the escalator in Trump Tower in 2015. I mean, they were gunning for him, and it's just piled up. They've never given the man a fair shake, and this is just more political interference, pulling strings behind the scenes. And I mean, he's going to appeal it. But folks, you need to remember today is a very, very historic day. This has never, ever happened in the history of the United States before with an ex-president. And I just think, again, it's a sad, very, very sad day for the United States of America. They'll be the laughing joke around the world, unfortunately.
All right. Thanks, John. We're going to wrap it up with you there. I'm going to go back to our other two co-hosts here tonight, and I will touch base with you again later, sir.
Cheers, guys. And Kevin Michelicci, you're always welcome in Alberta, my friend. We'll take you to Banff, Lake Louise.
Okay, well, come visit Russia sometime, if you want to be a real heretic.
Okay. Thank you, John. Take care. All right. John, Scotty Rimby out in Alberta. And, I think you touched on something important there. This really does, like I said, it's a stain on the U.S. It tarnishes the image. Where do you think this leaves the country in that regard, Kevin?
I
Banana Republic time.
Yeah. I don't know. I just see a lot of same old stuff going on. It's going after another candidate, putting the level of attacks higher and higher. And, what was that movie, Idiocy? It's becoming closer and closer to that in the United States.
Mm-hmm. Dragon.
Since all you Canadians are inviting Trump there, well, heck, he can come here too. He can have dinner with me, Snowden, and Putin sometime.
I'd like to have a supper with both of you three, man. I mean, I would have a lot of questions to ask Snowden, especially.
Yeah. Okay, Dragon, I'm going to drop off from you for a little bit. You can go look around on campus there, and go take a look around, see what else you can find with the protesters there, and we can come back to you in 15 minutes or so. How does that sound? If we've still got him, we might have lost him. He's frozen up.
All right.
Yeah, so we'll come back to you in about 15, okay?
Good.
All right, he's on the prowl looking for protesters at McGill. I have a feeling the protesters might find him if he stays there long enough, the way things have been going. Was there anything else going on, and anything else on your radar from your area in the world over there that was on your list that we missed?
Nah, not really. It was kind of a slow news day for me, flooding you with crud today, so...
Yeah, well, I wanted to show you this, though. Not that I want to alarm people, but just shows you the kind of stuff that's being posted online to get people all jacked up. This was a post on X, formerly known as Twitter. Caption, this is from some account called World at War. Don't have any idea what it is. Has a Russian flag on it, so I guess it must be pro-Russian. It says a senior member of a Russian think tank whose ideas sometimes become government policy. Here it is here. Here's the post. Has suggested Moscow consider a demonstrative nuclear explosion to cow, I think it means supposed to be show, the West into refusing to allow Ukraine to use its arms against targets inside Russia. Attributed to Reuters, don't know if that's true. He says, I do not think that we should rule out that Russia will test tactical nuclear weapons on Russian soil. It is about deterring Europe and NATO. However, I think it will have the opposite effect. And it looks like it's attributed to Dmitry Suslov, a member of the Moscow-based Council for Foreign and Defense Policy. Anyway, you're getting the idea here. It says to confirm the seriousness of Russia's intentions and to convince our opponents of Moscow's readiness to escalate, it is worth considering a demonstrative non-combat nuclear explosion. The political and psychological effect of a nuclear mushroom cloud, which will be shown live on all TV channels around the world, will hopefully remind Western politicians of the one thing that has prevented wars between the great powers since 1945, and that they have now largely lost fear of nuclear war. And then they have this video. What do you think of that?
I think that's a pretty crappy AI video. You know, the problem with think tanks in Russia is they're pretty easy to form. You know, I've got a couple of guys in the Moscow area who've been pinging me for about 6 months saying, let's get together and create a think tank. And it's like, I get enough stuff to think about. So, I don't know. You know, here you can just slap a label on yourself and say, okay, I'm a think tank. I don't see Russia, you know, nuking their own soil to prove anything. But speaking of, you know, stirring things up to get people excited, you know, we had that big thing back a few weeks ago about Russia is doing, you know, what was it?
Tactical nuclear training exercises, yeah.
Yeah, and guess what NATO was doing just over the border from Russia just this past week? The same thing.
I did mention that briefly 2 or 3 nights ago, yeah.
So,
I don't like it. It's maybe too normalized. It is too normalized. You know, the fact that we're just even going down this road, it does make me very nervous. The strange thing is, though, I mean, you and I discussed this when Russia's exercises were first announced, and I was very worried about it. There was a lot of online chatter about it. But here we are a couple weeks later, and we're like, oh, well, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. We're maybe just too complacent. But
yeah, I don't know. You know, we should put the guy who is making those statements in that video together with, you know, Lindsey Graham. You know, I think the two of them get along. They can nuke each other off the face of the earth, demonstrate it to everybody, and we have 2 less problems in the world.
Well, see, if we could just get all the people who want to go to war to just, you know, like I've said before, let them lead the charge. You go first. You can, like, you go ahead, but you first. But they're always at the back, aren't they? These people. Yeah.
You know, I prefer not to be involved in a war because I realize that they shoot back.
Yeah.
And I don't move so quickly anymore.
Thoughts on the of 2 things. Vladimir Putin saying that he wants a ceasefire with the current lines drawn where they are, whatever that means. And, of course, you have to negotiate something to get to that point, which sounds encouraging. I don't know how much authenticity there is to it or conviction. But on the other side, we have this peace summit coming up in the middle of July with Zelensky saying 80 countries going. We have, I know Canada's going, Trudeau will be there, but apparently Biden's not even going to go to that. And I mean, I'm all for anything that's talking about peace, so Biden should go, regardless of what it is. If they're talking about peace, get your butt over there. That's what I'm saying. But you tell me what you think. Russia not going to the thing in Switzerland, though.
Yeah, well, this is the thing. They're going to have a peace summit to talk about peace in Ukraine, but not invite Russia, and it's kind of senseless. You know, how do you negotiate peace with only one side?
So, with regard to that, the way when I listened to his whole spiel, what I took away from it was it's not so much an attempt to reach a peace deal with Russia without Russia being there. I look at it as Zelensky trying to build international support for Ukraine so they can then go to the bargaining table with a unified, fortified voice. So he's not there alone. He's got Western countries behind him at the negotiating table, so he's negotiating from a place of strength. That's kind of what I'm getting from it. Do you think that's valid?
But, you know, could be, but it comes back to even if the entire West agrees with Zelensky on some, you know, plan or that they're going to back him and give him this power. The guys who are winning the war hold all the cards. You know, Putin's saying that he's willing to negotiate on the current lines, whatever. You know, I hear rhetoric in that again. Seems to be my favorite word today, rhetoric and allegedly. But, you know, he's willing to negotiate, but he won't negotiate with Zelensky because Zelensky, A, can't negotiate with Russia because they passed a law against it, and B, they don't consider him the legitimate president of Ukraine anymore. So, you know, Putin can say all he wants to about we're willing to negotiate peace on these lines, on these regions, whatever, but you know, but he's not willing to negotiate with the guy on the other side, even if the West is backing Zelensky.
Yeah, here's Dragon. Are you there, Dragon? Or you have something going on there? It looked like you had some action behind you.
Some action, not much. It's pretty peaceful as usual. Actually, I'm right in front of the encampment, and as you can see, probably behind me, you got a George Floyd banner commemoration thing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, well, we've been mentioning over the last few nights that it isn't just Palestinian protesters. It's sort of the usual cast of characters, the BLM types, the Antifa types, the Occupy types, the left-wing activists. It's that's largely who is out there mixed in with some new people who are there for that particular cause, and the banners that they're putting up are revealing that very clearly, as you can see. You know,
yep.
that's the BLM group back there with the George Floyd thing.
Yeah, and right where you got the encampment. It's, you know, that's what it is.
Perpetual protesters. That's what I used to call them. I used to go to all these things when I was working in mainstream media, all kinds of protests, and you'd show up and it didn't matter. It was like this issue this week and then this issue the next week, but it's this, you know, mostly the same people showing up. They just love a good protest.
Mm-hmm. Like the old lady that I was actually speaking with. She was 89-year-old and an activist for all her life and still do. So you have it, right?
Yeah, that's right.
It's I will call that an expert protester at that point.
Yeah. Well, I've seen one instance where they formed a government provincially and they self-destructed because all they know how to do is protest. So they got into power. They got the guy that they wanted elected, the NDP, and then all they did was protest against him once they got him elected because they don't know what else to do anyway. So it all fell apart. But that's another story for another day. Anyway, Kevin, I know it's real early over there, so I don't want to keep you awake all night. What else do you want to talk about before you leave?
Well, I just wanted to comment on protests. Dragon's always at these protests in Canada, but you know, these protesters need to go to the United States for a while and learn how to protest properly. I mean, this is the typical, you know, generalization that Canadians are too polite. You don't have anyone jumping up and down and screaming, and you know, something's wrong here.
Yeah, well, I haven't seen any confrontation much. Probably a few bad actors say have a word here and there, but nothing really major, you know. So, yeah, we're too polite, I think. You know what I say sometimes? We Canadians like to, if we want to ask someone to go to hell, we ask them politely, if you want to go to hell, please.
Well, certainly in Montreal, we're seeing that it has been pretty peaceful. Over at UQAM, we've seen some vandalism, which is not cool. We've seen some vandalism at McGill, graffiti spray painted on the buildings and things like that. I take issue with the way that they've restricted access to the property. I think that crosses the line. We've discussed all of that, but I don't think anybody has been assaulted or hurt there. Is that correct?
Yeah, this is my point too. There's nobody was assaulted, nothing happened major. So yeah, and I mean I'm right now where actually I would be normally pushed out, and I'm just walking around, and nobody comes around to tell me to go away. So I think there's how I can put that. It's a good news.
Yeah,
probably a good thing.
Maybe making a little progress. They're becoming a little more tolerant of you. Maybe you're becoming a little more familiar to them, and they realize you're not the threat that they initially thought you were.
Well, I hope, because I'm not here to threaten anyone. I'm not here to make any problem. I just want everyone to be heard.
Yeah.
And yeah, you got it here.
Because it was not cool when those people came up with the black umbrellas and pushed you back off the front lawn. That wasn't cool. I didn't like
it wasn't
that.
cool.
No,
But
no,
I mean,
no need. But
no need, and I mean, in a way, I'm not frustrated about that because it's first experience, it's first time. So I mean, I gotta get, it's part of the deal, man, and I just love it.
And had you been covering protests in Chicago, they would have beaten you with those umbrellas.
Probably would have, yeah.
I joked about it, but reality is, protesters in the United States might get a lot further if they actually held peaceful protests that were peaceful, like you've got going on there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's our politeness and our good way to be, or our freedom of well-being that makes probably myself safe in a way and not being attacked by anyone, because I mean they are not here to attack anyone. They are just expressing their point of view, and that's what it is. And I've been proning that we are all for free speech, so I think I kind of made my point in a way. So
yeah, I mean, I can't say that that's the case at every Canadian location. We've seen some pretty volatile situations in some other places, and we've seen just in the last 24 hours, all of this stuff escalate to a situation where shots were fired at a Jewish school in the Toronto area in North York, and I mean, this is not
the same
cool.
thing happened 2 days ago at Notre-Dame-de-Grâce in Montreal. There's a Jewish school who, there were been shot at. So I mean, this is what it is, man.
In fact, here I've got a clip of Trudeau and the Premier of Ontario commenting on this. Hang on.
Nous sommes Canada, whether it be anti-Semitism, having la Deuxième Guerre mondiale.
All right, here we go.
For both the Prime Minister and the Premier, you both mentioned off the top using all the resources at your disposal to help protect Jewish communities right now. Can you tell us beyond words, what resources are we talking about? We know that politicians aren't supposed to direct the police. Are we talking about bubble zones to protect community centers, religious institutions? Like what concrete steps is going to happen from each of your governments?
Well, first of all, the significant step that we took a number of years ago was to create the security infrastructure program that has led to places of worship of all types, of community centers, of religious community centers, having an opportunity to create protection, whether it's cameras or new security measures, including the nearby school, elementary girls' school that was affected, that was shot at over the weekend. There is so much more to do, and the core thing that we continued to call for is an end to hatred and intolerance in Canada, whether it be anti-Semitism or Islamophobia. We are seeing that events overseas that are devastating and incredibly difficult to watch should not be spilling over into Canadians hating on other Canadians. We are all united in our strength and diversity and our desire for a better country and a better world, we shouldn't be attacking each other, and that is a message that we will continue to put out as we look to bring people together. As in regards to measures we're bringing in, we continue to look at ways to keep Canadians safe and remind people of who we are. As we have the right to protest, always, we do not have the right to endanger or inflict violence on fellow Canadians.
Here's the Premier.
Thank you, Prime Minister. We will throw every single resource. We've increased funding for the police, and we've also given thousands of dollars to places of worship. They feel threatened. But folks, let's cut to the chase here. What lunatic goes around shooting up schools? Like that is just unacceptable. Imagine that. Imagine a little kid in a school because they're from the Jewish faith. Someone goes by and starts shooting through the school windows. These guys need to be caught. They need to be punished. They need to be thrown in jail. And I'll tell you, we have zero tolerance for this anywhere in Ontario. And it doesn't matter what race, what creed, what religion you're from. I'd be saying the exact same thing if it was another community as well. But enough is enough. You're bringing your problems from everywhere else in the world. You're bringing it to Ontario, and you're going after other Canadians, as the Prime Minister said. Unacceptable. I got an idea. Before you plan on moving to Canada, don't come to Canada if you're going to start terrorizing neighborhoods like this. Simple as that. You want to come to Canada. You're a resident of Ontario. You get along with everyone. I don't care what background, what religion, what race you come from. You know, the diversity is our number one selling tool around the world. We have 110 nationalities here in Ontario, 200 languages being spoken. And guess what? 99% of the people get along. There's wars going all around the world, but we still get along. So all this other nonsense that we've been seeing over numbers and numbers of months, enough is enough. I'm just had it up to here. And guess what? People outside those communities, they've had it too. They aren't used to this happening here in Ontario. I'm done with this stuff.
Okay, now here's the kicker. Here's the kicker. Premier Ford makes that statement. Then I'm looking at mainstream media reports tonight. Do you know how they're responding to what he said? Before I tell you, can you guess from what he said how they flipped this around on him? Didn't think so. Okay. They're basically accusing him of being racist because he made an assumption that these shootings were committed by immigrants. Get it? See how easy it is to play that race card and attack somebody politically by... Oh man, he stepped in it without meaning to step in it. This is what I'm seeing in headlines tonight. They're not going real heavy on him with it yet, but it's being reported that way. That's the turn that this has taken. Strange times.
I don't know, Rick. You know, this is coming from a guy who's racist against politicians.
Sorry, what? I didn't get that.
Well, you know, sounds like you just made a racial comment against politicians.
Did I make a racial comment? Probably I did, inadvertently, without...
I'm just giving you crap.
Yeah. Exactly. There it is. And here I am trying to, oh my God, how do I be more politically correct? What did I say that was wrong? But it's, you know, there he is. He's trying to be as non-racist, as tolerant as he possibly can be, and he just goes and steps on a giant mine and blows himself up without intending to do that at all.
Well, and, you know, I'll defend the guy. You know, what's an immigrant? I mean, you know, if you're from Toronto and you go to Quebec, technically you're an immigrant, right?
I don't know.
What level you put immigration at? You're immigrating to another region.
Province, I guess, where they're protected. Quebec has been extremely protective of their language and culture. Dragon, would you say that an Anglophone like me going up, if I were to move to Quebec, would I be an immigrant to Quebec?
No, you're part of my country. So, I mean, Canada is big and Quebec is part of Canada. So, here you got it.
There you go. Now, see, that's the attitude that we need. But unfortunately, with Trudeau as the prime minister and these progressives in charge, we don't have that. This is why everything is falling apart, I think. It's because what they've done is they're bringing massive numbers of new Canadians into the country. See, and we have you heard them say, what was it, 180 different nationalities or cultures all mixed in together now here in Canada. They say diversity is our strength, and yet it isn't. I've been saying it's our challenge that we have to deal with now, because while they're doing all that, they've stripped the country of a national identity. Trudeau says that it's the world's first post-national state. There's no such thing as Canadian culture anymore. So what do people have to unify behind? They've made us all ashamed of our history, of our Canadian heritage, and now there's not. So who wants to rally behind the Canadian flag or get behind the country? Nobody wants to do that. Well, some people do, but if you do that, now you're like a racist. So there's nothing to unify people anymore. There's no religion. Like, it's a secular society. Like, people can have their religion, but it's not promoted. People, and everybody's encouraged to here. It's not a melting pot. It's a mosaic. So everybody's supposed to keep their culture and preserve that. But there's nothing to unify people anymore. If you don't have a strong national identity, how are you going to identify as Canadians and come together behind the flag when you're told that's something to be ashamed of? This is why everybody is, they come here. People come, but there's nothing to join us anymore. That's my view.
I kind of agree.
Just kind of.
Well, today it's hard to say, but.
Sorry, go ahead, Kevin. What was that?
I said people are just looking for reasons to fight.
Yeah. Very true.
Yeah, well,
unfortunately.
My point was, it's as a Canadian and as a Quebecer, I'm not a politic guy, but if I would and if I could, I would probably just, put myself on there with a beautiful flag, a Canadian flag that is, and I would just, fight for my country to be, again, a free country where everyone can live and strive.
Well, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, Gregan, I think you have your in-person interview behind you, speaking of waving flags. Some guy determined that you're on the air, and he's got a flag he's waving behind you now. Now we got two guys with flags. I think I want to be interviewed.
You could ask them if they want to be on.
Do you want me to ask you a few questions, sir?
Point the camera at them.
I think they don't want to be disturbed, but they were just showing their color. So you know what? Let's enjoy the color.
Okay,
yeah,
sure.
He's hiding behind the flag now.
Yeah, well, he was doing some peace like that. He was doing the peace sign to me a little bit earlier. So
well, that's cool. But as much as the country is suffering because of Trudeau is now suffering as well because people are fed up. And I came across this today. This caught my attention, and I put it in some of the thumbnails of some of the platforms tonight to alert people of the subject matter for tonight's broadcast. GROK, the artificial intelligence system in use on X, formerly known as Twitter. It goes and it curates all of the information from the news feeds, and then it will tell you in a synopsis, in a summary, what the leading story of the hour is, I guess. And so this is what was trending. Trudeau under fire. This is just what generated by GROK based on all the stuff posted out there. Trudeau under fire, calls for resignation mount. Says here, calls for Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's resignation are growing amid criticism over issues such as crime, perceived failures in leadership, and a shift in public sentiment. Social media posts and news articles highlight a broader dissatisfaction with the current state of Canadian politics and society under Trudeau's leadership. Emigration from Canada to the U.S. has hit a 10-year high, with tens of thousands of Canadians moving south. Polls suggest a significant shift in political support, with the Conservative Party gaining ground and the Liberal Party losing support. There are calls for the Liberal Party to force Trudeau's hand, suggesting a need for change within the party. And then it says here, this story is a summary of posts on X, formerly known as Twitter, and may evolve over time. GROK can make mistakes, verify its outputs. But there you go. Like, GROK don't lie. Sometimes it just makes the odd mistake here and there. But that's got to be, there you go. That is like a survey that tells you where people are at least the demographic within the X, formerly known as Twitter, family or universe. Any thoughts about that?
I'm going to use GROK more often.
It just shows you that I think what I've been saying for a while, it's true. Trudeau's days are numbered, man. I'm telling you. He's in deep doo-doo, that guy. He is so low in the polls. He's in a lot of trouble. In fact, let me show you the polls right now. The 338. This is where things are at in Canada. Justin Trudeau is the politician that the world now loves to hate. Not just Canadians. But here you go. The Conservatives, with a 43% take in public in the polls, so they would take 211 seats to form a majority government with 43% of the popular vote. The Liberals are way behind with only 25. NDP 17, the Bloc Québécois 8, the Green Party with 4, and the PPC not registering. They've lost a lot of ground. A lot of ground. The 338. So I guess that confirms what GROK is saying. Is he in trouble? Give the people some hope, Dragon.
I have been saying that Trudeau is in trouble for a long time, so yeah. Oh, yeah. We got someone displaying the flag. That's fun.
Yeah, I have some neighbors around here who fly the Palestinian flags too, and a few that fly the Israeli flags, but nobody's fighting, at least not yet.
You know, the whole thing, and you know, people want Trudeau out. Will it happen? It's the same thing. You know, they were talking the same thing in you know, some of the recent European elections. Oh, the people want change, and nothing changed. We still have Schultz in Germany. We still, you know, it seems like the guys with the money who are keeping people in politics are keeping them there. You know, and I was getting this thought because Jay Tulip, one of our viewers out there who's been watching the channel for just a few months now, you know, she made the comment that, you know, in the UK, they love to hate Sunak and Starmer, but, you know, elections won't do anything to change things. So, you know, supposedly they're in trouble too.
Well, today,
to make up for your point,
go ahead.
Yeah.
To make up to your point, is it last French election where everyone wanted to have Macron out, but Macron, you know, got back in?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Macron don't want to go out. He wants to go in to Ukraine with troops. Yeah. And Polyev, he made mincemeat out of Trudeau today in the House of Commons again. This guy is really good at public speaking. I have to tell you, he keeps, you know, these are ringers, these things. Like my dad plays horseshoes. So anyway, this one again, man, this is a bullseye. This is about immigration and housing, and this is what Pierre Poilievre did at the end of this exchange. And look at what, just stick with it. You got to follow it for a minute, but check this out.
He housing costs in 2015. He doubled them. He promised he'd double home building. It actually went down and is still dropping. But now he's promising 3.9 million brand new homes by 2031. That means he'd have to build 550,000 this year and every year. So once again, will the Prime Minister keep his promise to build 550,000 homes this year? Yes or no?
Wait for it. Wait for it. It's good. Hang on.
Mr. Speaker, the leader opposite speaks of 2015. Well, we took office with a commitment to get this government back, the federal government back in the business of building housing. We launched a national housing strategy in 2017 that put 2.5 million Canadians into new or refurbished homes, and we've continued to invest ever since. We're building homes on public lands. We're converting underused federal offices into homes. We're taxing vacant lands to incentivize construction. We're building apartments, bringing rents down with top-ups to the apartment construction loan program. We're scaling up modular housing. We're launching Canada Builds to lead a Team Canada effort to build more homes and more, Mr. Speaker.
Wait, there's more. You got to get to the punch. Scott.
The question was not how quickly he could read off talking points written for him by his staff. The question was whether he's going to break yet another housing promise. Remember, he promised he'd lower housing costs, he doubled them. He promised he'd double the number of homes built, they went down. Now he's promising 3.9 million new homes by 2031. That means 550,000 new homes this and every year. Will he keep that promise? Yes or no?
Here it comes. Here it comes. Hang on. Almost there.
Speaker, the leader of the opposition's criticism is there's too many measures in our housing plan. Housing should be solved by a simple one-size-fits-all solution, according to the leader of the opposition. That's perhaps how he managed to build only 6 affordable homes when he was Minister of Housing. Because yes, we have a broad range of initiatives that are delivering on housing, like topping up the Housing Accelerator Fund with $400 million, a new $6 billion Canada Housing Infrastructure Fund to help communities build. We're leveraging transit funding to build more homes. We're launching a housing design catalog. We're incentivizing more skilled trade workers.
Here it comes.
The right honourable, sorry.
Here it comes.
The
Here it
honourable
is.
leader of the opposition.
He's announcing a catalog, everybody. Your rent is doubled, but hey, you've got a brand new catalog. Mr. Speaker, the question was, will he build 550,000 new homes, yes or no?
The right honourable Prime Minister.
He mentioned the history lesson. Well, if he was housing minister, he should have known.
Well, we don't need to hear anymore. we already know the answer where this is going. But that was brilliant. I mean, that was a setup, and then he just took his throat out.
And how much of a setup was it? Obviously, Trudeau knew what was going to be asked because he had the whole list of talking points.
Yep. Oh yeah. He knows.
As usual. Yeah.
Yeah. Of course he knew, because these are the issues that keep coming up over and over again. But man, he just throat punched him with that catalog thing, man. So that's getting traction on social media now. Before that was the whole wacko thing, right? He called him wacko, got kicked out of the House of Commons. It's all theater, right? But man, he is scoring political points. This stuff is really hurting Trudeau, I'm telling you. It's really hurting him a lot and solidifying that lead in the polls for the Conservatives. The question is, can he hold on to that lead long enough to get reelected? Because we are still a year maybe or longer away from an election unless something happens soon.
And besides, it's not a new catalog. You know, they have those modular home catalogs all over the place. How long does it take to put in, 500,000 trailer parks?
Just, oh man, that's really, that is actually part of the solution that they're coming up with, is these like small homes. It's like, it really are asking people to settle for less. They truly are. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sad times.
Those tiny homes, you know?
Yeah, that's the other thing that I just can't wrap my head around is the people a lot of the people within the freedom movement keep talking about tiny homes, tiny homes, tiny homes. People complain because they have to do with less, because the government wants you to, they don't want you to have a car, they don't want you to drive, they don't want you to live in a big house with a yard, they want to put you in a box. And then people's solution to the government offensive against the people is to go live in a tiny home. And if they're not going to do that, they have a bug out bag and they're ready to run off into the forest and build a lean-to to get away from the big bad evil government. And I'm like, isn't that exactly what you think the government wants you to do? And then you're going to, I don't know, it's like, again, self-destructive. It doesn't make any sense. I'm not leaving my house. I'm not going to run away and go run into the woods.
You don't want to live in a house that's probably smaller than your bathroom?
My shed. That's really what it is. It's a shed. You can live in a shed.
Well, I'm not trading my dragon cave anytime soon, so I'll keep it. Thank you.
I don't know, Rick. I hear a government contract in that, you know, Home Depot housing.
They were literally at a modular tiny home factory a month ago. I ran the video. Chrystia Freeland was at this place, and this is a big part of their housing strategy: is to build a whole bunch of these small tiny homes in factories and in a factory, and then make these available to people somehow. I guess through government housing projects. So I guess you'll end up with like forgive me, but a government slum with, populated with a bunch of sheds. That's the way I'm.
Clip on the wall and clip on, mattress also. They all clip together.
Yeah. Also tonight, just a couple of things before we wrap up. Oh, there was a Toronto councillor who is calling on the province to set up safe school zones because of that incident with the shots being fired at that girls' Jewish elementary school in North York. So we'll continue to follow that story in the days ahead. And Trudeau and Ford were actually at an announcement there today. I'll just mention that briefly. They weren't there just to talk about the issues we touched on here, which I think are sort of larger stories. They were there to talk about the opening, the progression toward opening Canada's largest vaccine production facility. So there's that. And the other story that I've been following is this whole thing about this deer cull out in British Columbia. Out in British Columbia, they're going to spend $12 million to bring in hunters from the United States, sharpshooters, in helicopters to kill these deer, while Canadian hunters are saying they would do it for free.
Just give them a license, yeah.
Yeah. You guys have any thoughts about that? Dragon?
My thought will be, well, dear God, I hope that they don't kill all the deers. No, seriously, my thought about it will be, I'm not sure, man. I mean, they could do that, just ask anyone who has a rifle to kill a few deers here and there, give some incentive. I don't know. Could be a good idea.
Yeah, so they're employing foreign sharpshooters in helicopters to cull deer. These are deer on a small coastal BC island, and they've earmarked, I guess, $12 million to do this. They've done this before, but now, according to documents that the Canadian Taxpayers Federation has come up with under the Freedom of Information Act, Parks Canada has been given by the Trudeau government $12 million to fund a multi-phase, it's called the Fur to Forest program. And what they want to do is cull these deer, specific type of deer, because they're not native to the area. They were introduced there, I guess, about 100 years ago, as I understand it, so people could hunt them. Now they want to, but they say they're damaging the ecosystem. You know, they're eating the indigenous plants and things, and they want to get rid of a bunch of these. Not all of them, but a bunch of them.
So it sounds like the forestry department is being racist. They want to shoot a specific type of deer.
Yes, that's right. So they're not racist against. Well, they are racist against those deer. That's what they are, and they're landed immigrants.
Yeah.
So, right? Then they probably at this point, you know, they're actually born on the soil too. Like they're native now, right? Right? Like maybe their grandparents wear it, but these guys, great grandparents wear it, but now these guys are native deer.
Colonizers.
That's right.
Oh well, I'm at the right place for that.
Well, so I don't know. So it's come to light. I don't think the government will make any changes. They'll just push ahead with this thing, in my opinion. But Parks Canada has issued a statement on this. They said that the cost for the cull still remains the projected $5.9 million this year, and said that $12 million refers to the entire restoration project on the island. So it's for the whole program, but the key part of it is to bring in these sharpshooters and have them take out these deer. And I guess last year they culled a whole bunch of them. Well, anyway, controversial stuff. That's typical Canadian stuff. We need to do something. Let's bring in the Americans.
Yeah. They're good at shooting things.
I guess so. Yeah, they took all the Canadians' guns away, so what are you supposed to do now? Well,
right
anyway.
on.
Well, gentlemen, that kind of brings us to a conclusion for the night. I'm out of stories for the moment. Final thoughts from you guys. Dragon, you first, and then we'll throw it over to Kevin.
Well, please follow me on my Twitter account and the YouTube. I got also some new videos on my Facebook account, which is Dragon. So please come and see. It was a beautiful sight today, and I will do some more. So I hope you guys enjoy my feeds, and I will wish you all a good day.
Excellent. So make sure you check out Dragon's Facebook page. And one more time, Dragon, what's your Facebook page called so they can find you?
Dragon, it's DRA for the first name and GON for the last name. So you got that. It's a good it's a good account. So
you're starting
no
to do
bad thing in there.
Yeah, so you're starting to do some live streams independently from location during the day and just whenever breaking news happens. And then we'll keep bringing you back on here as well to amplify your voice. And Kevin, over to you for a final thought tonight.
Well, y'all know where you can find me. I'll get the finger thing down one of these days. But, just as I say all the time, people, look at what you're looking at and make sure that what you're looking at is what you're looking at.
Yeah, good advice in this strange time when we're being
do your
subjected
due
to
diligence.
yeah, we're in an information war, and there's a lot of weird stuff out there, so verify before you believe. And with that, folks, we will wrap up. I'll be back tomorrow night, same time, same channel, the Maverick News channel, 7 p.m. Eastern. Catch y'all on the flip side.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.